I mean, it's phenomenal. 20 years later, the company that you founded is still going incredibly strong. How did it actually start?
I was a computer science graduate. Dave was an electrical engineer. My brother is a numbers wizard of note and a very smart businessman. And I think ultimately it was about a collection of just the right people at the right time who were aligned and trusted each other. And it was a really well-oiled machine for many, many years. It would operate without long meetings, without politics, without... Except for that one time on the highway where he screamed at me and then it was all sorted out. But it really was just a dream story that you had a bunch of guys that were young and carefree. There was a time when we had the smartest guys in the world. I mean, no jokes. I mean,
through our networks, through Ronnie at Wits finding Saki, through Derek Wits. We created it was part of that lucky, of being lucky, is that we were really at the right time.
You know, the fact that IS carved out a bigger market share in those first few years with all that competition was about eat, sleeping and drinking the mission. It was the real deal computer nerds team that was like computer nerds with a twist.
So what I remember the story is that Ronnie, I think, bankrupted the company fairly quickly.
Basically, absolutely.
I had a little bit of money. He said, would you put your hustle money with me? I said, not in your life would I put a cent with you. Actually, that's not exactly true. Leading up to that, I just saw this intensity of Ronnie, and Ronnie kept like feeding like articles, and there was a point where he actually, through a mainstream article at Time magazine, I think put it in front of me, and it was the first thing I really properly understood, started actually like understand that what Ronnie was doing sounded like he was involved in something. There was quite a momentous shift, not with understanding any of the technical stuff, that there was something significant happening, and he certainly got it and he was into it. And I went to Dave, who certainly understood much more than I did technically what Ronnie was doing. And I said to him, I think there's an opportunity. Ronnie's approached me. If you're interested in getting involved, I'm interested in getting involved. You know, we can keep this thing going.
It was like, why not? You know what I mean? Like, I think the best thing Ronnie said it was it was so risk-seeking. It was so easy for us to take risks.
We didn't know what risk, the words
risk
even meant. It was
in fact, the timing.
Yeah.
If we'd really analysed this thing, we would never have done it. We didn't. The timing of the country, the macro situation, 93, 94. We were young kids, you know what I mean? What were we? 23. And I'll never forget this. We were in Alon's golf, I think, going to Office Mart, right? And we were talking about the pricing, right? And Alon says to Ronnie, why has it got to be 2,000 Rand? And Ronnie says, that's what the market will be, right? They won't pay more. And I think like Alon said something like, what if they paid, why don't you just try, right? Pay 6. And in that conversation, like in the Alon's golf, right, the market price for a 64K line for the country was established.
They were the pace setters, these two. They set the pace.
And that's sort of how it started. It was like
But amazing, some of the funding, right, was money we'd made from flea market, from
jackets.
We were able to put in all the seed money.
Right. But you remember the fake raffles used to run at King David? At school.
What are you talking about? Who would ever do a thing like that?
I'm just saying. Alon used to win a lot of prizes in his own competition.
What was the culture in the place? Like, and
Ronnie, can you imagine?
It was insane. It was a secret sauce to a lot. I mean, certainly in terms of the culture and the quirkiness, Ronnie really did, I guess, define a lot of the character of the place. I mean, we all subscribed to, but he was really the force behind that in many ways. And I think some of the guys recently, like Saki and Gus, who've continued post us, have recognized the value of keeping Ronnie at least close to the business, because he's had a very defining sound, the character of the place. And really, together with Dave, the two of them were so likable and were so energetic that you were up against like some like Telkom and some foreign international telcos who were corporate in their approach. It was a bit of a no-brainer who you kind of wanted.
We used to have fun, eh? But you know what was the best part? There was such an alignment, which I hinted at earlier, and I've made this speech at so many like talks and stuff that people say, like, what was the secret? And I said, you know, I don't know about secret, but I would go out there and get people excited. And Dave would then come in and say, I'm glad Ronnie excited you, but he was giving the stuff away. We've got to negotiate a proper price. And then Alon would come in and say, I'm glad Ronnie excited you, I'm glad Dave negotiated a proper price, but I want a 5-year contract. And it's that combination that makes a business valuable, because you've got to excite people. Yeah. And you've got to do what's fair for both parties, and then you've got to lock them in. And I think that was the best formula ever, because it's exactly how it worked.
Let's go like 7 years down in the business. You guys are very profitable, very successful.
And the business just mushroomed, Dave.
7 years down.
Did you use that word earlier, Dave?
Did I?
You said
I
it.
said
You
mushroom.
know what he said? He said it mushroomed. Okay? So it was like a light went off.
So you guys got to 7 year itch. What happened?
When we did the initial deal in 1996, we already had a good relationship with our data on the ground. It was working for the network sellers. The guys were selling the hardware to bring in the guys were selling the internet, and vice versa. And that kind of there was a good working relationship happening. So when we sort of made the decision, we were data were flying at the time, and we did a deal initially where they bought 25% with an option to buy another 25 plus one.
And I also remember one of the things was we reached a point where we wanted to sell large banking applications and that, and we weren't well enough backed, and certainly with our data we were more credible. Yeah, many facets. They were, yeah.
So
you know that the NetBank online bank in '97 was the first functional online banking site outside of the US. It was the first in the world. It was like number 2 in terms of like world history. You know, it was a huge thing. That the secret to success is really simple. Just keep your promises. So if you promise the client that you look after them, then look after them. And that's the secret to everything in life. Just keep your promises. It sounds simple. And when I'm still friends with some of these clients going on almost now 19 years.